John, he talked about all the hardships he's went through. His wife was killed on the horseback riding accident years ago. He opened up. He really got a little emotional, to be honest. And he had proclaimed what Friday was it? Faith, prayer, a day
Day
of
of
prayer
prayer.
and fasting,
Day of
right?
prayer and fasting.
And I never knew. He said after he lost his wife, his daughter shot herself in the head. Did you ever know that story?
I heard it recently. A similar situation. The governor and I, at least once or twice a month, either I'll come to his office and he'll come to my office, and we'll just talk.
Yeah.
We'll sometimes talk about work and policy, but sometimes we'll just talk about faith and family.
Yes.
And on one of those talks, he kind of opened up about some of the things he'd gone through. I opened up about some of the things that I've gone through, and basically what we have been able to do is just kind of pray for one another, and that each of us gets strong in the Lord.
Yes.
Amen.
Well, I just never knew that part. I don't know if that's in his book or not, but, he was obviously very moved, but he shared the kind of poignant moment where he's seen his wife's headstone, and he was leaving the funeral, and he just thought about his wife, where she's at, where he's at, the moment of life, and and how all those hardships, has kind of helped lead him where he's at today. And and I was listening to him, and I was sitting there thinking, boy, I wish every Tennessean could hear what this guy's got to say. And he was talking about the lack of civility and just how I call it butt hurt. I just coined it butt hurt. It's really bad out there, but he really talked about that. But I know he's been very involved with Men of Valor, trying to change men's lives and women's lives and invest in our schools and prisons, juvenile detention facilities to turn men and women's lives around. And you're probably one of the closest people to him up there at the Capitol.
Well, Tennessee is very blessed. We are blessed to have men and women of faith who are in the positions that they can fight the battles. I mean, we know what's happening around the country. We understand that in many places, many states, many communities, God has been expelled. He has been put out of the marketplace. He's been put out of the schools. He's been put away from their politics. We're very fortunate to have folks like yourself in the House and Governor Lee and the governor's residents who are men and women of faith who stand for something that's lasting. And that's one of the reasons why Tennessee is doing so well. We're not only just the best run state in the nation, we are one of those states where people can come and have a place of good abode where they can worship, where they can learn, and where they can prosper. So we've been extremely blessed.
Amen.
Yes. John, I know, just the battles you've been through with, especially what happened to you, them taking your name off the ballot. I hear Democrats talk about voter suppression and all this and what happened. But I think you've got a modern day Joseph story. Genesis 50, verse 20 is where Joseph was sold in slavery by his own brothers. And he says, what you meant for evil, God used for good to save the whole lineage of the Jewish people. Have you ever thought about that in your own life, where what all these people made as hate towards you and tried to vilify you, God used all of it for such a time as this? Has that crossed your mind a lot?
Well, of course it does, and it's a tremendous responsibility, Mike. How many times have you and I talked about where God has brought us, and he has put us in positions that when we were younger, we probably never thought that we would be. I think God always has a plan. It was extremely painful during a pandemic on a Zoom call with 24 hours notice that a 26-year incumbent who had been a chair for 14 years was taken off the ballot after he is qualified, after his community has made him the nominee. And so it was a very painful moment. It was painful for me. It was painful for my children. But here again, like you say, when Governor Lee called me a few days afterwards, and I said, well, Governor, at this point, I'm retired. I was pretty much fed up with it. He said, no, you're not. It doesn't end like this. And and put me in a position to where I can still work with the people of the state of Tennessee, but work directly with the governor of the state. And together we have been able to do some great things with folks like yourself in the House of Representatives. I think that we have a great team in the state. So I thank God for putting me where he placed me. It's humbling and it's a tremendous responsibility, and I try to live up to it every day.
Well, I think you do.
I think you do.
The governor with his, like he was talking about all the hardship that his family and he had faced. There's a really good video out there, and this is an independent source. People would probably say it's a little biased, but it's journalist Roland Martin. A lot of people know who Roland Martin is. He used to work CNN.
I remember I talked with Roland.
Yeah, and I've seen that interview. It's in a way it's kind of funny because that one guy he says, well, the Democrat Party is going downhill for the last 8 years or something like that. So folks want to see it. The John DeBerry Roland Martin interview. Roland was an Alpha Phi Alpha. You know that, or he is, not was. We had a meeting last night. I want to thank the Alpha Phi Alpha and the AME Church for hosting a candidate forum. John, I brought my award I got from the Alphas a few years ago. I never tell you that story.
Yeah, you told me. I remember you mentioning. But tell us again, Mike.
Well, I know I probably told you 5 times. I'm really proud of it. Marvin, my assistant who's African American, he says, nobody believes that you got an award from the Alphas, man. And so I brought it with me last night. And because, people always want to probably play the race card and, create division and attacks and all those narratives. And, it's kind of neat, though, because really what people try to, like they used against you, they use against me, it's really like, it's almost like guys got a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I'm going to take this hate and all this butthurt, and I'm going to use it to glorify my name and lift folks up who can be a voice. Mm-hmm. And really, I like to thank people for the criticism. I like to thank Antifa for being in front of my house 5 years ago, waking up all my neighbors and waking up my wife and kids. They were out there out front with a bullhorn. Yeah. But here's the thing about it. And this is where the news, which we don't have no news today. Let's just face it. I know Tiffany can't say nothing. Work for Channel 2. But, you'd think that'd make news. They never said nothing about it.
Huh.
But anyways, I thank God for that, the persecution. John, I want to thank God for you. And, you've taken a lot of darts and arrows, and you just kept fighting and kept fighting. You were at World Outreach Church, 3-4 months ago?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got a larger stand ovation because I was kind of watching, and people got on their feet quicker. If there's a time where you can judge stand ovations, you got it quicker than other members. I'm just saying. So everybody loves you. And I think you're coming into my event October the 5th, this Saturday. We got an event at Gateway Classic Cars, 6 o'clock. You're still on the calendar, right?
Yes, it is my intention to be there. The Lord willing, I intend to be there to support you, because one of the things that I have been blessed with your friendship. You have always been supportive. You've always been encouraging, no matter how disappointing and frustrating it has gotten. You and several others have always been the type of people who have been there to stand for what is right. And I am so blessed to be able to stand on the shoulders of men and women like my father. My father, someone said, introduced me recently. I was speaking, and they introduced me as civil rights hero John DeBerry. And I told them that introduction is not accurate. I said, John DeBerry, at least Junior, is not a civil rights hero. I said, I was a scared kid holding on to my dad's britches. My dad and those men and women who had a look on their face that I can remember to this day of determination. They grabbed arms. They sing, "Ain't Nobody Gonna Turn Me Around." They looked the dogs in the face. They looked the billiard clubs in the face, and they kept on marching. And what it did for a young teenager like me was embolden me, and it strengthened me, and it taught me that there are some things worth placing yourself in danger for. And that's what we've got to recapture again. We've got to recapture that courage and that spirit that says a love for America, a love for our fellow man, a love for our God and our Father and our faith, and whatever it takes to protect it and defend it, just as those folks did in 1968. That's what we've got to do again, and that's what we've got to become.
John, before we go to commercial break, I spoke at a funeral. Casey Clark, he was well known, used to call in the radio station, like every other morning probably, but we became friends years ago. And you ever heard a hymn, don't laugh if you've heard it all the time, called Mississippi Poor Boy? You ever heard that by the Cantons?
I've heard it. Yes, I've heard it.
Man, that is just, and is it a hymn that's got two different titles? Because one version I see is God's been good to me, and then the other I hear is Mississippi Poor Boy.
Well, when you're down south, Mike, everybody kind of does their own thing, especially with songs.
They brought a group up from Alabama, and I'm telling you, they rocked that place. First Baptist Church, Brother James McCarroll was on the radio with us 2 weeks ago. Nice. And God forgive me if it's wrong to say, but it reminded me of the Van Halen concert I was at in 1986. Eddie Van, these guys were professional. There's Casey's sister, Thea, supposed to be getting me their names. Man, these guys, I'm telling you, it was so cool. Yeah. And, but such a good celebration of life for the late Casey Clark, that had a passion really for his community and helping others. John, I sure appreciate it. Thanks for calling in, sir.
Can I say this about him real quick?
Go ahead. Hold on, John.
John, behind the scenes, politics, whatever it is aside, he hardly even knows me from Men of Valor. I've seen him a couple times with Tommy Vallejos and Raul, and I get to see what he does behind the scenes for no credit.
Yes.
What he takes on, and it's pretty amazing. Some people might not even know his name, and look how much he does for the entire state and behind the scenes for small people all the time, like us at Men of Valor. And so and I would never want to follow him speaking.
Oh, never
in a million years.
Hi, John. It's Lisette.
Yeah, John, you met Lisette Lopez here, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Hi, John.
How you doing?
I'm good, honey. Nice to talk to you again. But yes,
good
nobody
to
wants
to
never in a million.
Nobody ever wants to follow him, and you can't. He's got to close the room because
he's got to be in.
That's it. Yeah.
John,
God
where'd you get those skills at? Where'd you develop them skills at?
Well, it's in our generation. Everybody went to church. You learned how to talk. You were always told you got to learn how to communicate. You got to look people in the eye. You got to shake people's hands. Those are the things that we were taught even in school in that day. And my father, of course, was a minister, and he taught me. I stood up and did my first lesson at church when I was 15. And so I have been able to hone those skills just by having the blessing of being around good people who have encouraged me, criticized me, and helped me. And so God has been good to me.
God bless you.
Well, God bless you, sir, and wish you much Godspeed and good health. And I want your story. Really, I'd love for your story to be in a movie.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody ever approached you about that?
Well, some people have talked to finish my memoirs or whatever, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Awesome. Maybe we can find some money in the budget. Okay. I think it'd be well worth it. You got such a positive story that this gentleman right here needs to hear, and others across this great state. Well, thank you so much, John. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye, John. Thank you.
Let's take a quick break.
Right,
we'll be right back. See you, John.
Josh Moss with Affordable Heating and Cooling provides residential HVAC and duct cleaning services to the Middle Tennessee area. With more than 20 years of experience, Josh Moss and the AHC team provide 24/7 service and take care to ensure whatever work you need done is done in a professional, timely manner. Contact AHC at 615-745-1676. That's 615-745-1676. Or go to their website at affordableheatingandcoolingtn.com.
Hello and buenos dias. I'm Lisette Lopez, your bilingual real estate agent at Keller Williams Murfreesboro. I specialize in helping you make informed decisions that align with your goals. I'm offering free classes from how to fix your credit to investing to create generational wealth. Start your real estate journey with Lisette Lopez today. Call me at 954-552-4932. The number again is 954-552-4932. Or browse my website at lopezsellstn.kw.com. Thank you.
My wife and I enjoy going by Yard Sale Inc. We usually go to both locations, the one in Smyrna as well as the one in Murfreesboro. A lot of times on Saturday mornings we stop by, and their inventory changes weekly, so you never know what you're going to see, and it's mostly open box. The name fits it. It's exactly that. It's a yard sale. If you don't totally agree with the price, the staff is always friendly and nice and willing to work with you.
That's the Yard Sale store in Smyrna at 111 Enon Springs Road West, in Murfreesboro at 204 South Front Street, and online at bestdealintown.com.
Is your car running like a dream, or does it need a little TLC? At Dr. Automotive in Smyrna, we treat your vehicle like it's one of our own. Let's hear what some customers have to say about Dr. Automotive.
Been coming to them ever since he opened up. Good family. I recommend to other people to get them repaired here because I knew they would do it and do it right. Been happy to send people to him because I trust what he does so much.
We're crazy about him. It's all about the doctor.
For quality care you can trust, visit Dr. Automotive in Smyrna. We've got the cure for your car.
Hello and buenos dias. I'm Lisette Lopez, your bilingual real estate agent at Keller Williams Murfreesboro. I specialize in helping you make informed decisions that align with your goals. I'm offering free classes from how to fix your credit to investing to create generational wealth. Start your real estate journey with Lisette Lopez today. Call me at 954-552-4932. The number again is 954-552-4932. Or browse my website at lopezsellstn.kw.com. Thank you.
Mike and Felicia Sparks, owner of the Vanity Zone Salon, want to invite you to stop in for your next haircut or color. Their stylists Michelle, Tori, Tracy, Brandy, Sarah, and Gail offer the best creative cuts and color for all ages, for men and women. The Vanity Zone is located at 732 Nissan Drive in Smyrna, to the right of the Crystals Restaurant. To look and feel your best, visit the Vanity Zone Salon today. Call 615-355-1721 to book your next appointment.
Most people know that their insurance can provide them with coverage for the many life's mishaps. But I can help you also unlock discounts, save money, and get benefits with Farmers Insurance policy perks. Whether we're discussing home or auto insurance, I am here to help you understand these great perks. Call me, Mark Lewis, at 615-625-7070 for a quote, and you can get a whole lot of something with Farmers policy perks.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Not available in every state. Only available at select Farmers branded policies underwritten by Farmers Truck or Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate.
Hey, Middle Tennessee, it's Mark from the Safe House. And now the security riddle of the day. What's less secure than a fake safe from a big box or furniture store? Joe Biden's fake border policy, of course. But hey, there is good news. This time next year, Joe Biden will not be president. So drop by the Safe House and check out the largest selection of safes in the Southeast. Build a wall around your valuables with a safe from the Safe House. We have certified delivery crews to deliver and install your safe. Don't let a crackhead or illegal deliver your safe. With over 30 years in the safe business, the Safe House is the place to buy a safe in Tennessee. So go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com.
Hey, I'm Floyd, and
Mike Sparks, that last commercial, I want to give a shout out to Mark Brassfield. That piece of legislation I carried that cut tax off gun safes, which incentivized folks safe storage of firearms, locking up their firearms, gun safety devices. Mark, that build has led to Mark's own show now. So shout out to Mark. Mark Brassfield, Super Talk, 99.7 from 5 to 6 every Saturday. So Mark's a great guy. He airs it from the bunker. You ever been down to 4th Avenue?
I have not.
The store? Yeah.
No.
So folks go, he's got gun safes for everything.
That's awesome.
Boats, he's got vault doors, he's got all kinds of weird hidden safes and stuff. I mean,
interesting.
Like safes for dressers, and it's really, really cool. Mark's a great guy too.
Yeah.
His commercial's a little hard hitting, but he's really a good guy. You know, probably like this guy. He's a big gentle giant right here, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you say your name again?
Salathiel
Williams.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're from Memphis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How big a fella are you?
6'3", 270.
Wow.
He's almost a college athlete. Yeah, he's an athlete.
You know Aaron Carter is at plays for UT?
Yes, sir.
I got to meet with him. He's been on the show with me. He's I think he's maybe 6 foot, maybe 220. He's bench pressing 420. So he done 225 25 times.
That's what I do.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Great guy. Had him sign a bunch of footballs the other day. We're talking about men of valor. Why don't you just go ahead and introduce Mr. Williams and what people may not know what men of valor is.
Yeah, sure. I'm the director of policy and government affairs, which is kind of a tangent of everything that Men of Valor does. But we have programming in all the prisons in the state of Tennessee. We're up to about 10 county jails at this point and expanding. As Lisette knows, Tommy Vihos runs our Hispanic ministry, and so that's really booming in the jails. Yes. All Spanish speaking. And then we have a child and family ministry as well. So that's working with people who are, parenting with someone who's incarcerated, whatever it might look like. Yeah. So we're in all the prisons. We're in 10 county jails. And then we have programming while you're inside. Once you're out, once you're being released, if you're on parole, if you flatten your time, whatever it is, you can come to one of our 2 facilities. Yeah. There's 93 beds in Nashville, 30 in Knoxville. And we've just expanded into a different type of model too. The housing component, I think, is the most important thing that we can have for that very intentional community, but that is the most expensive thing that we can do. And so how can we bring services to the other parts of the state when we can't quite afford to build more housing? So we're doing a case management type model. So we're piloting it in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. We have a pretty good jail program there, and guys are going to come out and come straight into same continuum of care model where we pick you up, but we're going to now try to help you find housing. We have weekly groups, and we're going to do all the same services we do on campus, just without somewhere to live. And so we're trying to expand in all these counties, into all these cities with housing, but in the meantime, that's what we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you had said you and I met, this year?
Yes, sir.
Just a few months ago, I guess.
Sir.
Was it at y'all's conference?
No, it was at...
you come out of the office?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we did a big day at the Hill. So Men of Valor came in today on the Hill.
A lot of guys.
We had, all of our guys that were in their 30 days. So that's when Salathiel, when your first 30 days of Men of Valor, you do not work yet. So we are helping kind of rinse off some of that old prison stink. Is that a good way to say it, Salathiel?
Okay. Mindset.
Old mindset, how it feels, paranoia. And then we're also getting you hooked up with go to the doctor, get a full physical blood exam, get you hooked up with SNAP benefits, food, clothing. Start doing some job readiness, some interviewing, all those kinds of things. So Salathiel was in his first 30 days, and we brought everybody on the Hill, and now he's still in the program.
Well, how did Salathiel, tell us your experience? How did lawmakers treat you? Because y'all went to, I'm assuming you didn't hit every office, but
no, yeah.
How did everybody treat y'all? You can be real. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings.
They treated us pretty good. The fruit that we went to, they were listening. That was real understandable, Yeah. So, it was number good hospitality.
Yeah.
We had 10-minute meetings, and some legislators were asking them to stay for 30, 35,
y'all,
and asking all kinds of asking all kinds of good questions. I thought.
Yeah.
People are asking you good questions.
Yeah, they were pretty good questions.
Well, I've watched the old school mentality. I used to hear folks say that you can't do nothing for people that made mistakes, and I call it stinking thinking. What people don't realize, the taxpayers, we're paying about $34,000 in TDOC.
Way more, $111.50 per day, and that's just to incarcerate someone. That doesn't look into the social services required, doesn't look into the court costs and fees and fines, and how we pay judges, DA, everything there. And so literally just the cost to incarcerate them, not the entire system that's involved.
Did you ever know what happened with this county? They had this PCC, private probation company, going on.
Yeah,
I mean, they got charged $14 million lawsuit.
Yeah.
And our leaders were silent.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Well, except for me. I mean, no, not toot my own horn, but I remember getting in a big fight with the mayor, and they put me on the front page fighting with the mayor. They finally, a judge intervened into the program, or release some inmates due to this. I mean, but here's the knucklehead crap that goes on that really irritates me. Because I've learned if you don't have a lobbyist, you're SOL.
True.
So you're kind of a liaison. I mean, if you will.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I'm registered as a lobbyist, but and it is. It's a serious part of my job because it's policy. Criminal justice is huge policy, and I don't have anything to sell y'all. I mean, so many people are vendors, whatever, and so I come in and I'm like,
well, you make those connections, you get to know people. You know, you got their cell numbers. I mean, you're here with us right now.
Yeah.
But I think the system's broken. You know, I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, you got to be careful with what you say, and I'm not trying to, get you to say something or anything, but when you look at Rutherford County, what happened in this county right here. Well, they got sued, $14 million lawsuit right there, and leaders are silent. See, the church is silent. The media is silent. Now, that one reporter,
and that's
Scott
part
Brody,
of the system. The church is part of the system, all of it. I mean, there's a church on every block.
Yeah.
If a church were to say when someone's released or a child is incarcerated and gets out that we're going to take them and mentor them and be...
Yeah.
Well,
you just hit mentors.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, Mr. Williams, do you have any mentors in your life?
Yes, sir.
Can you name them?
Mr. Mark Hartz.
Okay. See,
Men of Valor hooks you up with a mentor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen that video we produced years ago? Marvin, my assistant, who's now with Office of the Courts, it's on YouTube. I guess if you typed in Mike Sparks, Men of Valor, we had Men of Valor up. Well, this year we had y'all up, but then we had y'all up, I think, 5 years ago.
Something.
And is it Tony? Tony, African-American dude, gets up there and speaks. And, man, this is so moving. He said, I seen this white guy come in. He says, I thought, what am I going to have in common with this white dude, this older white guy? And it was so touching. The guy says, he said, he gave me something I never had.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have a connection with his father. He said, T-I-M-E. Time. And it was very moving.
That's how you spell love. That's
well,
what people
yeah.
say. Yeah.
I can relate. I had a rough relationship with my dad. I mean, he was a good man, but he was just military. I peed my britches every time I went over. They were divorced when I was probably, man, I mean, it was, I guess it's some childhood trauma if you think about it. Because he was so, he never could let go of the World War II.
Right.
He was in World War II,
Right.
He was hard disciplinarian, but thank God I had a father.
Well, and that's what we touch on. I mean, we have a really great guys, PhD level, and we've just gotten some opioid abatement council money to hire 5 licensed therapists.
Amen.
So
wow.
all things SUDS, but also, I mean, if you want to address, you can't change the fruit if you don't address the root. And so we've got to get to the trauma. Yeah. And that's what these folks are going to be totally different in a whole new capacity. We've got biblical counselors, we've got all kinds of great counselors, but now let's look at that trauma, those ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, those kind of things. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, this guy right here, you're 6'3", 275.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're a big old boy. I mean, a lot of people would be scared to but I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot of issues you had growing up, but we all got issues. There's some issues with us. And that's why, like, you look at the female population, how many of those women were sexually abused as minors?
Do you know, our guys, we've been keeping some new data, and so for the guys coming through our campus, they have over 8 of the adverse child experiences on average. About 80% of our guys have over 8.
Yes.
And so, I can name how many I have, but that when we don't look at, and it's what we talked about Slayfield the whole way here about, in Memphis they're 10 and everywhere, but 10, 11, 12 years old being, this is who they have to look at as father figures, as who's successful. And so the gangs are coming much younger for folks in Memphis than they've been coming.
Yeah. I talk about music therapy. I think Tiffany and I have talked about this. And it's not that I get kidded, but I'll bring it up at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And there's, 120 people in the crowd. And they're all, pretty successful people, probably had great family, been to college. And I'll bring up Tupac. And then I'll get looks like, what? Do you know who Tupac is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope you do. Okay, but if you listen to the song "Dear Mama," my assistant Marvin, I started playing it one day because he's like, "You don't know about Tupac? What do you know about Tupac?" I just knew "Dear Mama." He literally had to shut the door. He didn't want to hear it because he says, "Man, I get choked up." But see, his dad, that's probably why him and I connected, because his dad really, I don't think really was there. He hadn't really said much about it. But if you hear the words of that song, he says, "I never shed a tear for my dad because he never was there. I found love in a gang." He's saying that, but no one's really listening to what he's saying.
Right.
That was, I guess, his outlet. I'm in a history of music class now, history of recording industry. Man, it's fascinating. I'm not a music person, but it's fascinating of how music has evolved. It's like Aretha Franklin, the blues, and the church. The other day we were talking about the church. There's 120 students in there now. Talking about the church, Tiffany, how the choir and Aretha Franklin and all these folks learn and sing in the church, that kind of segued into some rock and roll.
Sure.
I mean,
rock
and
and
it's
roll was born.
really Elvis and so many people. Louis Armstrong, you look at his story. I don't know if anybody's ever studied it. His mom was a prostitute. He was running errands at 12 years old, and I guess a Jewish family took him in. But the history of music is really so cool because the recording folks, a lot of them were Jewish, and they all kind of had that synchronicity of white, black, Jewish people kind of coming together.
Yeah.
I'm sure some Cubans.
Yeah.
Toss
them in there.
And, but it's really cool how music has brought people together. Did y'all?
You'd like there's a group called Second Verses that we're starting to partner with.
Yeah,
and they're doing.
We're supposed to be setting up a meet. I'm glad you brought.
Good.
Well, he
Good.
called me the day. He met with John.
Yeah.
Where I'm hoping that we can get some money in the budget. Maybe y'all could help me.
We've got some stuff going on with them. We're going to figure out. But yeah, he does really cool stuff. It's not, he
was
doesn't
on
call it
with
music
us a few months
therapy.
ago.
He kind of steers away from that word, but it's exactly that of how do we write down our story in a different way. Not everybody gets 10 minutes to just give a testimony, but if you can make a song and write music and make people feel, then
we had a guy, Lisette and I had, it was one of the coolest shows we've ever done. We were talking about freedom. It was Cubans. And I was on the way over here. Was that 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And and I had Leroy Wells on.
I remember.
Leroy.
Yep.
Leroy sadly passed away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, last year. Great guy. He said he heard me on in North Carolina. I was like, Leroy, I don't think you heard me on North Carolina. But he was a bulldog of a fella. He said that Advanced Finance took advantage of his daughter, charging her like 300 or 400%. And he tells me a story. Went to the court and he's like, I ain't paying you. I mean, I can't use the words.
Yeah.
And I guess they knew how much of a fighter this dude was. They're like, I guess he was like, hey, this is going away, But anyways, he was a bulldog of a fella. But the show we did was talking about the Cubans and freedom.
And the freedom.
And
that's huge. We're still talking about freedom.
Remember what that guy said? That said, let's have a protester exchange program going on. Remember that? Who was that one guy that was with us?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
It was funny because Tiffany, he says, why don't we have a protester exchange program? People that don't like America, let's go to Cuba for 90 days.
90.
We'll take the Cuban protesters, send them over here.
See how it goes. When did you?
Just see how it goes.
When did you move here? When did you leave Cuba? I guess.
Well,
I should
actually,
say.
I'm first generation American.
Okay.
So my parents left right as Castro was taken over.
I see.
So they've been in the country now like 60 years.
So almost similar to Raul's story.
It's almost exactly, exactly. And from Miami. So it's, where all good Cubans go.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
Exactly. And then we all migrate out. But even now it's getting worse. There's a lot going on now again.
You said you've got a friend that does
I do. My friend
travel.
Shyla. She's over there now. I reached out to her. She's in Havana now. She does trips.
Could she bring what I told you back?
I'm going to write her. I will find
Okay,
out.
seriously, ask her.
I lost my
on the air.
contact. I have a contact in Miami.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
So bring some contraband back.
Exactly. I'm like, wait.
It's nothing bad.
Don't ask me on the radio.
It's not marijuana.
No.
Not that. Anyways, I know it's not marijuana. Just for the record.
No.
But it's funny how people though appreciate. Sometimes people appreciate America more than Americans do because we take it for granted.
We take it for granted. We really do. And you forget like that saying that we love Reagan. So the saying, I don't know it exactly. The one about if every generation has to fight for freedom or they forget it.
Yeah.
I'm totally misquoting that, but I do believe that, and I see it now. This generation has lost the fear.
Freedom comes in so many forms, whether it's the First Amendment or freedom from the system, know, and people get caught in the system. If they're look at PCC, they were entrapped.
Yeah.
That was happening, and this county, not just San Francisco or Detroit or New York, that happened here. This is our backyard.
Right.
But I'm reminded, on the way up here about 2 years ago, I was in my head thinking, what am I going to talk about? I know nothing about Cuba, and I haven't prepared for the
Lisette's got you.
show. And then something reminded me of Reagan and what Reagan said. He says there's a story, and I think it's Raul Lopez, Raul Cruz, Ted Cruz's father, who I've met. Rafael Cruz, Ted's father, Senator Ted Cruz's father. And the story goes that I think there was a guy had escaped Cuba, and he's telling a congressman, and the guy says, man, you're so fortunate you were able to seek freedom. You got to come to America. He says, I'm fortunate because I had somewhere to go. You have nowhere to go. So if all this Marxism and communism keeps permeating our country, state, and it's slow. It's like the frogs in the pot theory. It's slowly happening. Slowly. This country's $35 trillion in debt now. But I brought that up, and but every person I've ever met from Cuba just it's why are y'all more patriotic? It seems like
because we experienced it. I mean, we came here just for that. So like they just unrationed. Now the food has been even more. They're even starving more. They've cut the water off, and even the little bit of bread that they did get, it's less now. There's nowhere to go, so they're stuck. And I think just it's a pride. Our families took them so much to get here. And it was just very, very prideful that you have to do better than us. Education is very important. Moving forward, becoming an American citizen, like my parents did, and starting businesses and hustling and stuff that you can't do over there.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
The entrepreneurial spirit. Raul, I know we weren't able to get Raul to call in tonight, but he came from Cuba?
Correct.
Do you know what year?
Gosh, I think he was like 10 years old, or he was young as well.
Young.
He was young, maybe even younger. Yeah, so it has to be right. Most families at that age, it's right before.
So he can't go back and visit? He can't.
No, he can. He's been back.
Oh, he has?
Something opened up not that long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but something happened where he can actually go back.
Can you? They probably opened the visa. No, I could. I'm an American citizen, so they would allow me. My mom went back once, but it was just, it's hurtful. We have family there, and they're starving, and there's no food. I mean, it's incredible. It's something that we can't even comprehend what's going on there.
My mother was from Scotland. They were real poor growing up, and I remember she's in a nursing home. I said, Mom, would you ever want to go back to Scotland? And she says, no. Now, we visited 20 years ago. The people are super nice. They're friendly, but it didn't appeal to me to be there. And what I noticed most about Scotland, a lot of your great ministers came from England and Scotland, and the churches were just empty. Beautiful churches.
Sure. No, they're beautiful.
Just empty,
It's interesting. They say the biggest experiment in socialism is the American prison system.
Wow. Yes.
How many are
if
incarcerated?
If you think through it and what's available to you, all of the mentality of it, they say it's...
Well, our prison budget has doubled since I was elected.
Yeah. What, are we over we're about 1.5 billion
is
for
it
just
that much?
Yeah, for
I always say
corrections
1.2.
alone.
Well, you're
public
factoring in
safety.
juveniles, right?
That's for the correction department, TDOC.
Well, the juveniles, if I'm not mistaken.
that's not taking in law enforcement, juveniles, courts. This is $1.4 billion for the Department of Correction.
Yes.
And so that's parole but
yes,
that's nuts.
Yeah. Did you want to get your buddy say a few words before we go and segue into?
Alexis?
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you want to.
Of
course. Mr. Williams, what advice would you tell leaders or church, maybe pastors that may be listening, to help change young men's lives like yours?
I mean, more support, more intervening with the youth, with the community.
What would you say when you say intervention? What would you want? What do you see?
Just more like spending time
like TIME, like that guy said.
Exactly.
Well, it's cool. He was talking, where he was growing up. The only couple, you should say this, not me, but the only couple places that were left in the neighborhood for kids, they're too scared to be there anymore. Isn't that what you were saying?
Wow. And like they just,
it's not
safe.
Moved off, like.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm from the inner city of Chicago, so I understand.
So like Big Brothers Big Sisters, they leave.
Yeah.
And it's not their
never
fault.
heard of that. If it's not someone like us, like you in the community that is opening your doors like that, then it doesn't exist.
Yes. We got to turn it around.
That's the reality.
And you have to be in the net. You can't be like, hey, kids, come to this facility.
No.
Who's going to drive? How are they going to get all these things? And so if there's not people that have the gumption, we'll say, to show up at the then what's the point?
There's no point.
I pulled into, I guess you'd call it, it's a ministry, I guess, lack of a better term, halfway house. And pulled in the halfway house the day and was talking to a guy, he's African-American guy, he's about 65. And I said, and we disagreed politically, I mean, I'm going to vote for Trump and he's going to vote for Harris. So I pulled up a chair and said, we got to talk. Me and him got to talk. We hit it off really good. I don't think I talked him into voting for Trump by the time I left. But I said, man, what's going to change this world? How are we going to change? Because he sees the problems. You know what one word he said? Alexis, take a guess. What word this guy said? Starts with a J.
Jesus.
What did you say, Tiffany? No, he said Jesus. And I thought, one word with so much wisdom and discernment. Do you think that's going to help change the world?
A lot of praying. We don't need a lot of praying.
Amen. I've seen it. I've seen miracles. My friend Sherry Jackson with Hugs. You know Sherry Jackson with Hugs?
No, I don't.
Yeah, her and I come together when I first got elected. She's African-American out of Jefferson Street. She was in prison for 7 years. God showed her in a dream. She was in prison for 7 years. God showed her in a dream she would get out of prison on her birthday. Sounds crazy, but I quoted this scripture last night. Some people didn't like me quoting scripture, by the way. Isn't that odd? At a church? Isn't that crazy? Anyways, I said, 1 Corinthians verse 27, that God will use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise and the weak, shame the strong. Guess what? She got out of prison on her birthday. She tells the story to the judge, and she's straight out of, I don't want to say Memphis, straight out of Nashville. Compton. Compton. She's straight out of it, and she says, and she tells the judge, and I said, what did the judge say? He said, judge looked there like, I don't know about that. You got 2 outstanding warrants. They went and looked for the warrants, and the warrants had disappeared. She got out of prison on her birthday. Let her to start a ministry. So shout out to Sherry. She's got her graduate degree.
Nice.
She's on fire now.
That's awesome.
She's passionate. Alexis, want to get you, just give us an update a little bit about the real estate industry, what y'all are doing.
So my company?
I want to just give you some airtime, talk about some of these things.
Well, thank you all for having me. I wasn't
You look
expecting
scared.
it. Yeah, I'm nervous. I've never done this before. And I didn't practice.
You're okay. Now you're
for
practicing right
today.
now because you're going to be a professional soon.
Well, I own a property management company, and we basically provide completely hassle-free management for landlords.
Yeah.
We're really looking for retiring landlords who just are ready to keep the passive income flowing consistently and, not have to put in any work with calling maintenance, cleaners, or assisting with move-ins and move-outs and things like that. So, our clientele is corporate traveling professionals. Corporate housing is what we offer. I guess that's a summary.
Well, I just yesterday at a men's prayer breakfast at Parkway Baptist, I was talking to a guy that I rented, Steve Burnett. I hope he didn't mind me sharing. I had a fitness center when I was 21 in Smyrna, and I was paying him $550 a month right there by Wilson's Photography, by the print shop that Roger liked so much, and nice place. And I could have bought that building $45,000 back then. I think it's like $400,000 now, something crazy. So how can folks get hold of you?
I have a website.
Okay.
It's www.lexusperspectiverealty.com.
Okay.
And
so it's Lexus like the car?
Yes, Lexus.
Okay. Not Alexis.
Well, that's my name.
Oh,
Alexis,
okay.
yes.
Alexis, but the website is
Lexus Perspective Realty.
Perspective Realty.
Perspective,
okay. Well, thank you. Before we segue over to Roger, any final words before I go into Roger, y'all?
No. So you'll tell them what you're going to do. What are you gearing up for? That's what you're a story of hope and change and beauty. So, what's your next plan?
Well, my next plan is hopefully I can enroll in school.
Yes.
College or whatever. And
but Chattanooga State, I think's got a program.
Williamson College, let's shout them out. They are rethinking all of higher ed.
Good.
And they are trying to figure out. They had this big. They were going to give our guys half off, and so someone said, that $3,500 is still.
Yeah.
You might as well just tell them it's $1 million.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, I guess we got to figure something out. So they're figuring out ways to give Slathiel and some other people.
I got the chance for.
Yeah.
I got the chance for coming in. To Motlow, we're doing a big education meeting and mental health.
Yeah.
If folks are interested, just call my office 741-6829. But let's work on it. She's going to be asking for $500,000 for mental health and some counselors. Thank you. How do you say? I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name.
Salathiel.
Salathiel.
Yes.
Nathaniel, but Salathiel.
Okay, Salathiel.
Yes,
all right. Thank you, Genevieve.
Yeah.
With the new name.
Genevieve with the new name, Genevieve Turner Muckle.
Okay. Oh, speaking of new names, I just got a grandbaby this morning.
But you don't know his name, right?
Well, I learned. I practiced it.
What's his name?
His name is Henry David Sparks. I got to hold him for the first
got the
time.
last name.
They
That's
just
good.
brought him brought him home to the hospital. So it's really pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, then we got the other grandbaby, Grace.
You got another grandbaby.
But this is the first grandson we've ever,
okay.
had.
Congrats.
So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It was neat watching the grandbaby look at the little baby like, who are you? What are you doing in my house? But John DeBerry talks about how grandkids will change your life.
Oh, yeah.
They really will.
How could they not?
I know Roger's got a big car show, and then my event that Roger is going to help me with, I think. Roger, come on over here and talk about this real quick. We can move that microphone. You can just move it over by Tiffany. You know? You're good.
You're good.
Alexis, you look scared. But you got a sweet spirit about you. I can tell.
Oh,
you can read it. You know. Yeah, go ahead, Roger, about this car show.
Yeah, it's actually put on by the Mid-10 Hot Rodders. It's going to be this Saturday at Sam Davis Home. It's the 4th annual Sam Davis Home Car Show, and it's going to open at 9 o'clock, free admission. And we had 100 and something cars there last year, and they're going to have a band, barbecue. And like I said, no admission, but if you want to put a car in, it's like $20, and it actually helps Sam Davis Home, and also the Epilepsy Foundation is going to help them. And your deal is at Gateway Friday.
Gateway Classic. Yeah, on Swan Drive, Gateway Classic Cars.
This is a thing to help Mike out. It's 6 o'clock.
PM barbecue.
Yeah.
Cool.
Everyone's invited. Yeah. You know, John DeBerry's going to be speaking. We had this. The speaker was scheduled to come in, but all this devastation in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's really. I'd like to try to get the governor to come in, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But you know, thank you, Roger. He's the one that reminded me to mention my grandbaby's.
Yes.
Grandbaby on the radio.
That's congrats.
God forgive me, I'll forget. Look at Tiffany. Hold her head down in shame. But you know, this is a big issue that we need to care about, the incarceration, because even if you're one of these people that don't give a rat's tail, I see people like this. They don't care about crap. But here's where you better care, folks, because you're going to pay for it.
Well, if you don't, I started in the DA's office, and so it was a big deal. Oh, we're going to lock people away for 10 years. That should do it, right? And so figuring out and seeing through the course of it, the same people are coming through. Of course, that's an obvious one, recidivism. But also, I started at the same time working with people. So here I am at the DA's office. Let's put people in prison for a long time. I started working with young girls who were at risk for being in gangs. They were in 8th grade.
Wow.
And so we started cold calling these principals, like, tell us who's your worst. And so now you're spending time with a whole different type of, I grew up in a bubble in West Knoxville. Yeah. Now we're spending time with folks who their dads are the ones I'm putting in prison. I'm getting to eat with them, sit with them, talk to them, understand some of the background of things. And so if you don't look at public safety holistically, if it's just corrections or if it's just policing or if it's just juvenile, you're missing it. That is not public safety. And so if we truly want to talk about it, let's have those conversations.
How do people that may be listening and they do care, but how do they get involved? If it's a pastor or...
Well, I can tell you get involved in Men of Valor. AMOVministry.com to come to that. And then, we need mentors. We need job partners. What are we going to do with guys who want to be fathers and parent and do these things if they can't get gainful employment and careers?
Yeah.
So that's part of what Slaith and I are talking
By
about,
the way, that PCC that I talk about, the first female police chief in the nation and state was Sally Walls, my neighbor, who I considered a mentor. I had the opportunity to preach her a funeral. But I think I told you I got set up by a bad cop when I was 17.
Yeah.
I knew the cop had lied on the ticket, and I took the ticket to her. She was my advocate. And she looked at the ticket. She said, that dude's a bad cop. You don't worry about that ticket. I got the ticket. I had an advocate. I had a liaison. By the way, PCC took $1,000. The guy put it in his pocket. He's a piece of crap. He moved to South Carolina. And it makes me sick how this happened. And the leaders were silent folks. Thank you for Genevieve.
Thanks for having
Mr.
us.
Williams,
For all you do.
Lisette, Lexus, and Tiffany, and Roger for not being silent. Folks, we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Mike.